Sierra Sailing, Cascade. I've got something to read from Marcia Gaines in Forest Knolls, and I've also got some things to say myself. I heard Greg, the head of the PG&E Smart Meter program, talking about PG&E having values. I just want to read this. In California, meters are being replaced by Pacific Gas and Electric, and I changed the "and" to a $sign. It's like, that's just the way I do it. PG&E is the same company responsible for the recent fatal San Bruno explosion and fire. Last spring, PG&E spent $46 million of ratepayer money on a failed ballot initiative, Proposition 16, to protect their monopoly from municipal power sources. PG&E is also responsible for the toxic groundwater plume in Hinckley, California, as portrayed in the movie Erin Brockovich with Julia Roberts, which has apparently grown and spread and still not been cleaned up after 15 years. What kind of values is this that PG&E has? It's not values that I hold here. It's like, as far as I can tell, PG&E's values are about profit and dollars and control and power. It's not about taking care of the public. I mean, some of it is, but personally I think PG&E should take care of the infrastructure, you know, monitor the lines and everything. You talk about seeing what economically viable options are. It's like, an economically viable option is to hardwire the things. It's like, economically viable for who? For your ratepayers and for your bottom line? You talk about the accuracy of the meters, saying they're more accurate. If the meters are more accurate, and most people's bills seem to be going up, is PG&E going to lower people's rates rather than taking those extra profits and putting it to the shareholders? I kind of doubt it. I personally do not want or accept a wireless meter on my property. I certainly don't want 3 of them. And it's like, it is not exactly democracy or choice or any kind of debate with anybody if you guys are coming in and telling me that I have to have these things on my property, bar none, and if I'm going to be surrounded with them in the neighborhood. That is not choice. That is not democracy. That is more of a fascist dictatorship in my being. Anyway, that's about all that I have to say. I've got something that I wrote about smart meter and the basic issues that I'll give to the council and to you. And there are a lot of potential and unknown health and safety risks from wireless radiation, and it's not a done deal. There's a lot of people that have concerns about non-ionizing radiation, and they do not consider it safe. I'm going to read something from Marcia Gaines, and that is that she first joined up into the smart meter issue after reading an article about opting out of smart meters. At that time, my husband and I were looking for a new home. Someone suggested buying a home in Fairfax because they had a moratorium, city council support, a delay list, and fewer installations than other places. We have a few friends, relatives, and my doctor in the area, so we found an eco-green realtor and began our search 2 months ago. We bought a house in Forest Knolls last Wednesday, and since the sellers are renting back from us for a few weeks, we asked if they would put themselves on the delay list and put up a no smart meter sign that we purchased. They complied. Our eco-green realtor assured us not to worry because smart meters weren't coming to West Marin yet. She said that the people here were proactive and wouldn't let it happen. Today I went to the property. When we pulled up, the Wellington truck was at our driveway. I was dumbfounded. I told the installer that we're on the delay list. He acknowledged that he saw our sign and was not going to remove our old meter and replace it with a smart meter. He did, however, go up and down the street, which dead ends into a big redwood forest and is surrounded on both sides by forest and open space, and replaced everyone else's meter with a smart meter. My clean new EMF-free home bubble burst when I saw all those new meters installed across the road and on either side of us. In addition, I was surprised not to see any other no smart meter signs in Forest Knolls. I was hoping that once we moved there would be more activity in the campaign against the installation. Anyway, what do we do when we're surrounded by the things and we don't want to be? What's the choice in that? Some of us don't have cell phones or any of that stuff by choice. And where's our choice? If PG&E or some other corporation is coming in, you're going to have us in your property. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just the way it is. It's not right. So
Just give to the clerk.
And one for PG&E.
Sure.
Thanks, Mayor. Alexander.
I'm Alexander Binnick from the Doctorate Institute. I have more extensive comments that I'd like to reserve most of my time for, but just a few quick questions about the presentation on privacy I wrote down. You said that the right now the meters are in operation. We'll just measure the usage for the entire home or property, but everything that's been written, it's on your website, and all PG&E's policies about what the next phase has to do with installing these home area networks with special appliances that people will be buying. And at that point, which may not be that far off, indeed there will be usage information given to regarding every appliance that participates, is my understanding. You can comment on that. Also, you said the data is transmitted only infrequently, but what I have read from PG&E is that it's transmitted for residential use once an hour and every 15 minutes in commercial settings. Another one is with regard to someone accessing the data. My understanding, it's not the issue of someone walking up to your meter and looking at your smart meter and being able to tell anything specific about your usage. It's about a hacker having equipment, perhaps they're in a vehicle or whatever, from a remote location, being able to get access to that information. And given that there are, besides your own meter, there may be many other meters in the vicinity repeating the data from your own meter, this data is flying around out in the environment all over. Thank you.
I think a couple of things I heard in your comments was around appliances and use of that, and also again on hacking. So maybe Jen, you went right down over those.
And the 1 hour 15-minute
yes.
comment. I'm happy to talk about all those. So inside the meter, there is a second radio that if you select a device in your home that can talk to the meter, it will be able to respond to you. So PG&E doesn't intend to collect appliance-specific information, nor do we carry that back from the meter to our offices. If you sign up for a utility-sponsored program, for example, a demand response program, we can potentially, we have a sort of a version of that today called an air conditioning cycling program, which living here you don't need air conditioning too much, but in the Central Valley, the customers will allow us to set their thermostat up 2 to 4 degrees off and on every half an hour or so, and that allows them to take advantage of a very attractive rate option, and it allows us to manage peak load costs for all of us, which we all benefit from. So the answer to your question about being able to read appliances in your home is we have no intention of doing that. If you buy a device for your home that allows you to measure that, you can do that. We don't plan to do that.
That would be something that you as a customer would choose to say, I want to participate in that.
With regard to your point about 1 hour and 15 minute, so the data on the meter is collected hourly at the meter, but we don't transport that data back to PG&E hourly or 15 minutes, every 15 minutes. We only carry that data back 3 or 4 times a day, depending on whether it's the gas or the electric system. So it does broadcast back to PG&E very infrequently. With regard to your question about hacking, so I've spent some time with our security folks internally, and what they tell me is that there is, while it's very unlikely, there's no guarantee that any system can be hacked. But we have in place all of the standards that are issued by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, the Department of Energy, all of the standards that are on the internet for secure communications. So we expect that, first of all, we haven't had any hacking so far, 7.5 million meters. So we expect that it's as secure a system as you can put in place with internet protocol.
And I want to make just maybe a factual correction. I appreciate the comments from the gentleman before, and materials, and thank you for sharing that. I did want to make a correction. The $46 million, I think that was referred to, that was ratepayer funding for our Prop 16 campaign. That was actually from shareholder earnings, so that did not come from our customers. Just wanted to.
Where did the shareholders get the earnings from? It came out of our pockets.
Next speaker, please.
I have a property here in Fairfax on Forest, but I also have a rental in San Rafael. And to my horror, when I went by there a week or so ago, I found that all of a sudden I had smart meters. As the property owner, I was not notified. My tenants were notified. They couldn't have cared less. They never talked to me about it. And so I had no chance to respond. I did not want the meters on the property. The meters there are two of them. They're in the yard, right by the door, right by the patio of the lower unit of this duplex. I have a 4.5-year-old moving in with his family in about 10 days. I feel that putting smart meters on our properties lowers our property values. People are concerned about the health issues. I don't know if my tenant will agree to move in when they see that the smart meters are there. I called PG&E right away. I got your center in Sacramento. She assured me that there was no health danger, that it was sort of like a microwave oven. And I thought, well, we don't turn on the microwave ovens 3 or 4 times a day and stand in front of them. And so I asked if the meters could be removed and the old meters replaced. I was told that could not happen. And I was told that someone would get back to me 7 to 10 business days to talk to me about that, which I thought was outrageous. I just like your response to my experience.
Sorry for the experience you had. I understand the concerns you have with consuming the RF. I know that we've shared information regarding that, and as well as our customer rep. But having said that, I understand that's a concern for you. What I'd like to do is we have some reps here. Maybe we can show it by hands. Some of my folks that are here, we can talk to you maybe after break and talk more specifically about your concerns. And so we can maybe truncate that 7 to 10 days down to response time.
I got a phone call back. Sorry. I got a phone call back. I was out of the house. I got a phone call back today, and I called a week ago yesterday. I haven't had a chance to speak to someone, but I'm just concerned. People are concerned about these being health issues, and those of us that are using some of our properties as income. This is not a great climate to have people walking away from a rental because they're afraid of the health concerns of these meters. I just feel really violated.
Next speaker, please. Just for the audience's edification, I have a stopwatch up here that I run when you're talking, and when PG&E is answering, I turn it off, so I am closely tracking your time and making sure that you get all.
Is that a wireless iPhone that you have?
It's not an iPhone, it's an iPod, and it is not hooked up to anything. It's not plugged into any wireless, so no.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to at least update everyone in this room about what's going on with the various RF studies that are out there. Can I do that, or did you want to ask? I can wait. If you want to ask your question, I can wait. Okay.
That would be great. I've heard that all before. I'm not that interested in it. I'm curious.
Turn it on.
Okay. I'm curious as to how many PG&E employees are actually in this room or affiliates of PG&E. I'd just like to see a show of hands. Okay. Okay. I just want to see if we're outnumbered, if it's like close to even, or that's about the money I've ever seen in a room before. Other than at the CPUC, of course, where you're always welcome. Let's see. I'd like to start with a statement left on our blog. In a world where a drug cannot be launched without proof that it is safe, where the use of herbs and natural compounds available to all since early Egyptian times are now questioned, their safety subjected to the deepest scrutiny, and where a new food cannot be launched without prior approval, the idea that we can use mobile telephony, including masts, and introduce Wi-Fi and mobile phones without restrictions around our 5-year-olds is double standards gone mad. I speak not just as an editor and scientist that has looked in depth at all the research, but as a father that lost his beloved daughter to a brain tumor. This statement comes from Chris Willems, a biochemist who's editor of Integrated Cancer and Oncology News from the Icon magazine and the CEO of Cancer Active. I'd just like to note that the smart grid technically generates microwaves and not radio frequencies. The smart grid runs at 900 megahertz and 2400 megahertz, and for smart meters it is quite appropriate to say pulsed microwave. Also, for the people in the audience that are not from PG&E, who will probably be here anyway, please attend the California Public Utilities Commission meeting this Thursday, December 2nd. Stand up for your health. The California Public Utilities Commission this Thursday is prepared to go against 22 cities and counties, representing several million citizens in its own division of ratepayer advocates, who stated that unless concerns about smart meters can be put to rest, the program will turn out to be a $2.2 billion mistake that ratepayers can ill afford. The appointed commissioners are preparing to side with PG&E and against common sense, health, and safety, rejecting the petition by the EMF Safety Network calling for a halt to installation and hearings on health impacts. We urge you to sign up and speak at this meeting. You must inform the CPUC in advance that you will be speaking. The public is typically allowed 2 to 3 minutes. Call the CPUC Public Advisor's Office, and I can give you that phone number if you want to talk to me later. And please bring signs. Also, I have no smart meter signs available if people are interested. And please feel free to join our Smart Marin Google group to be informed and updated. But that doesn't always apply to PG&E employees who've tried that before we kick you guys out. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is Marzia Zafar with the PUC. Regarding what she mentioned at Thursday's meeting, the ALJ, the Administrative Law Judge, has issued a proposed decision denying EMF Safety Network's application to reopen the smart meter, the PG&E smart meter application. And the commissioners will vote on it on Thursday. The proposed decision is out for public comment. We received opening and reply comments from Division of Ratepayer Advocates and EMF Safety Network and PG&E. Those are the 3 parties. What the judge has said, in reference to what you mentioned as far as common sense, he said that the RF emissions from smart meters that the EMF Safety Network wishes the PUC to investigate are 1/6,000th of the federal health standards at a distance of 10 feet from the smart meter and far below RF emissions of many commonly used devices, such as an iPod Touch or a wireless cell phone. We also recently received the state of Maine did a review, their Center for Disease Control did a review of the various studies out there, and they concluded that there are no health impacts with respect to smart meters. Canada Health did a review of the studies, and they said absolutely there are no health impacts regarding this issue. CCSD, California Council on Science and Technology, will issue a report, I guess, in early December or mid-December. We don't know what they're going to say. That's in response to Congressman Huffman's request to look into this. But so far, 2 other health organizations have asserted their opinion that there are absolutely no health impacts with respect to this.
Could I face this way? Is it okay to turn a little bit?
Sure.
You just have to be careful of the wire. Okay.
You have to use our time.
I'm sorry, but that does not put my mind to rest. My name is Katharina Sandozel. I'm from Point Reyes Station. I'm the mother of 2 small children. I co-direct an organization called West Marin Citizens Against Wireless Smart Meters, which has over 100 members throughout West Marin. We are based in Point Reyes Station. We are a tight-knit community of independent thinkers. I'm here to talk about civil rights and the great American tradition of civil disobedience. I have the civil right to nourish and protect my children in the sanctity of my home. I choose not to use wireless internet or a cell phone. I choose not to let my children use a cell phone or other wireless devices. This is my civil right, whether you agree with it or not. I believe that the forced installation of wireless smart meters on my home and neighborhood is harmful to my children's health. That's my belief. It is not just my right, but my responsibility as a mother to protect my children's health. If Mr. Barali, is that your name? You have children, I'm sure that you would do everything in your power to keep them from harm. When you were a child, you may remember feeling safe and protected in your home. I have the right to give the same kind of protection to my children. Myself and a large group of people in Point Reyes Station, Bolinas, Simpson Beach, and surrounding areas are ready to engage in civil disobedience to protect our neighborhoods and our civil rights. Unless there is a regional wired opt-out program that includes towns in West Marin County, we will engage in actively blocking installation trucks in Point Reyes and surrounding areas. I am willing to be arrested. In Point Reyes Station alone, in a matter of days, we gathered over 600 signatures of people opposing wireless smart meter installation. This is a vast majority of residents of our tiny town. We are not a fringe group. We want and need our wishes to be respected. We demand a halt to smart meter installation in West Marin until there is a regional wired opt-out program. We have been asking nicely for months. The time for polite requests is over. I have a right to protect my children in my home and in my neighborhood, and I will.
Just in response to the opt-out program, in that sub-chronicle that the mayor mentioned, EMF Safety Network, Sandy Bauer mentioned that the opt-out program is not going to work because if your neighbor doesn't opt out and you opt out, then that the alleged health impact will still affect you. So I'm not sure if your position is
money and this is about our health. The CPUC is supposed to protect us.
That's right.
Why did they get $2.5 million?
We need order, and I need the next speaker.
Judy Hitchcock from 90 Chester Avenue. I submitted some questions, a whole list of questions at the beginning, and then more of the health-related ones, but I just basically for clarification, some of the same issues the gentleman here wanted clarification on. I just wanted to clarify then the transmitting meters on appliances will be optional under this program, right? You only would be, you're talking about the things that you're wanting is just definitely the ones on the gas meters and on the electric meters?
That's correct. Anything in your home is at your discretion.
Okay. And then will the gas and electric meters outside the home also act as repeaters so that if the surrounding meters can't for some reason reach the access point, they would then transmit through your meter, causing your meter to have additional pulses?
The electric meters do have that capability. The gas meters do not.
Okay. And then I've seen different estimates, as what this gentleman was talking about, I've seen different estimates on the frequency of the radio transmissions from the meters, from once every 4 hours to once every hour to once every 45 seconds and once every 6 seconds. Is the difference for these estimates due to the fact that a meter could be acting as a repeater for adjacent meters and therefore transmit every few seconds?
No, I believe the numbers that you cite have they're for different topics. So, for example, the 45 seconds is the average transmission time throughout a 24-hour period for an electric meter. The hour number that you cite is the granularity of the data that we collect. So we collect hourly electric information. We don't transmit hourly, we just transmit 3 or 4 times during the 24-hour period, depending on whether it's the gas meter or the electric meter. And I think you cited another number. Why don't you give it to me
4
again?
hours every 6 seconds, 45 seconds.
Okay, the 4 hours is the transmission time back to PG&E every 4 hours. The 6 seconds is the time that the home area network transmitter data can be requested from the meter. If you had a device in your home that you wanted to get the meter data yourself, it would come in 6 second or sub 10 second granularity. Now that hasn't been finalized yet because the National Institute of Standard Technology and the Smart Grid standards work is still underway, but that's the general time frame which you could get near real-time data off your meter if you elected to do so.
Okay, so in terms of like how, I'm sorry, the radio transmissions then from a meter, from the electric meter, if you don't want any of the internal stuff and you want the least amount possible and you don't want your meter to be acting as a repeater for everything, what's the least amount of transmission you're going to get from the radio transmissions then?
Yes, that's 45 seconds a day on average, coming at different packets of time.
But once every 45 seconds?
No, 45 seconds out of 24 hours.
Okay, a day. So and it transmits how many times?
3 or 4 times a day in the 24-hour period.
Okay, and this is even if your meter's acting as a repeater?
That's 45 seconds is an average. I think it's a little bit more than that or a little bit less than that. No, sorry, Michael, it's 45 seconds.
Okay, so this is even if your meter's acting as a repeater then. It's not going to be more than 45 seconds.
That's right.
And 3 or 4 times a day. And then what is the actual intensity of a peak pulse? I understand that the average pulse PG&E describes is calculated by including periods of time when the meter's not actually transmitting. And that at the point at which the meter is actually transmitting the data, it's almost 1,000 times more powerful than a cell phone. Is that correct?
It's just the opposite.
I would leave that to Michael.
We have Michael Herz here, who's our UMF program manager.
I know it's not great. He changed his name to this. For this job.
Okay, need a mic.
The numbers we have for power density are average exposures. They meet the FCC criteria for how that's calculated. It's based on a half-hour period that can occur anytime during a 24-hour period. The power density is then compared to the standards that the FCC regulates and has people who sell and manufacture devices that use radio frequency have. So in the case of PG&E, the standard that we have and put it on our website and that we use, in fact, it was calculated back in 2008, was 8.8 microwatts per centimeter squared. That's power density, average power density.
Okay, so when you're talking about an average, though, you're including the time where it's not transmitting, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so if you only look at the power of the actual pulse when it's actually transmitting, it's a lot stronger then, because they're in all the studies, and then when you talk about it, you're talking about an average, and if you're talking about all the time it's not transmitting, then it's going to average out to a low number. But at the pulse when it's actually transmitting is going to be pretty strong, right?
Yes, it would be stronger, but again, there's no standard for that exposure, so that's not something that
That's where it gets to be the problem. Is we want to know the health effects of when it's actually pulsing, and that's what I mean. Looking at it as an average, that when you've got all these times when it isn't, doesn't seem like it gives you an accurate information about the health effects.
Again, the FCC, again, this is a company that we're purchasing this product from that is filed with the FCC with appropriate test reports that show that they adhere to the FCC standards, and that's the criteria that the FCC has for meeting a piece of equipment that uses radio frequency technology.
I understand that because I've read all the things that say it complies with the FCC standards, but then you have the EPA letter saying that those FCC standards don't apply. that they're thermally based and they don't apply to chronic non-thermal exposure solutions. So to say to the FCC, it's okay under the FCC when that standard doesn't really even apply seems questionable. I guess what I want to know, I think to find the health effects, you need to really know, you need to talk about when it's pulsating and the intensity of that pulse, rather than an average over there and saying, well, so. Anyway, so at this point, we don't know. We don't know the intensity of when it's actually pulsing, right?
Well, you could assume that it's on 24 hours a day. If it never turns off, if it's on continuously, that calculation would be approximately about 220 microwatts per centimeter squared, which is still less than half of what the FCC limit is. Even if this device was on 24 hours a day, continuously, it would still meet the FCC requirements.
Pulsing that whole time?
No, not if it's on 24 hours a day, then it's not pulsing. Yeah,
so
that would be the equivalent of if it when it was on as a pulse.
Actually, it's the intensity of the pulse. We don't know, it sounds like, because it's always been.
Well, again, for purposes of the calculation for the electric meter, it'd be 220 microwatts per centimeter squared.
20,000.
No. Basically, the 8.8 was calculated assuming that it was a 4% duty cycle. So if you calculated that up to a 100% duty cycle, if it was continuously on, that would give you the 220 microwatts per centimeter squared.
But that's also averaging. Right?
No.
So
Continuous pulse. That would be the strength of the pulse at 1 foot away, 1 foot away in front of the meter. So it's still below the FCC standard, which is 600 microwatts per centimeter squared for 900 megahertz frequency.
Okay, so at the time of the pulse, it's 220?
Yeah. Yeah, 1 foot away in front of the meter. 1 foot away in front of the meter.
Okay.
Ma'am.
1 watt.
You've used your.
I'm sorry. Can I ask one more question? If PG&E can provide us with a map of all the access points and repeater locations in Fairfax?
How about banks and meters?
Yes.
Okay. And I have other questions about the health, the ones that I had submitted to you before. Will we be getting back to those at a time, or?
I'm not sure that PG&E brought those questions or the answers.
Can she use my turn? Can I give her my turn?
I'll be quick.
Turn it on.
Okay, there's documentation of people with EMS sensitivities having adverse reactions to the smart meters. What advice or recommendations is PG&E giving to people who suffer from the EMS sensitivities?
We empathize with what you're going through. We recommend, work with your doctor. We have folks available that can answer any specific question that your doctors may have, and we can provide whatever information we provide to your doctors.
Okay, so you don't have any alternatives for these people.
Right now, particularly for Fairfax, when they're in a commitment that we would listen to the feedback from the community, and we're getting that. This is our third piece, and also, as Mr. Crowley pointed out, PG is looking with various what options may be available, and at that point, we'll see if there are other options available.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that you're looking at other options for Fairfax. I think that would be.
Well, we're looking at that system-wide.
I understand that people with pacemakers are being advised to stay a distance away from the smart meter. Are warnings also be given to people with other medical implants or other vulnerable populations?
Yeah, let me hold my back up here.
Customers with pacemakers or other implantable devices, please contact PG&E. We'll certainly work with you to provide you information about the exposures from our meters that we encourage you to share with your doctor and the manufacturer of your meter. What's probably most widely available is information about cell phone use and pacemakers or defibrillators. I've talked to many customers that have those type of implantable devices. They've told me that their doctor and the manufacturer of the device has recommended that they, instead of using the phone on the side where their pacemaker might be located, to use a cell phone on the other side of their head. Again, it's a basis of proximity. The FDA, other organizations, the FCC that have looked at this, it's very unlikely that a cell phone would cause interference with that. But a smart meter would not be used in close proximity to a person like that. It's not something you would hold up next to your body or your head. But please, if you have an implantable medical device, contact PG&E and we'll help you with information about the exposures that you can share with your doctor.
So you are giving warnings then to people that have medical, I mean, in putting these implants, I mean, in putting the...
We provide information about what the exposure is from the smart meters themselves, and doctors can incorporate that into the recommendations they give for all other radio frequency devices that we commonly encounter in our daily lives. Cordless phones, cell phones, Wi-Fi, garage door openers, any of those type of devices. If the doctor is given some type of recommendation or, procedure for the patients to follow, they can certainly incorporate the smart meter into that if they like.
And a lot of us choose not to have those in our lives, so use cell phones and things like that too. So a lot of those people probably do avoid.
Turn on your mic.
Things. Okay. Many people like me have meters located outside the wall next to our beds and are concerned about the proximity of the transmitting meters. Will PG&E be making arrangements for these meters to be moved to make residents less vulnerable to the RF transmissions?
I think right now our position is we're looking at options, and I wish I could give you more information, but I think we're in preliminary stages right now.
And is there a possibility to make a meter not act as a repeater meter for the meters around you so that you're transmitting less? I mean, you don't.
I don't have a technical answer to that. I don't know.
Okay, and for people living in large apartment buildings where the meters are clustered, will arrangements be made for their protection so that you don't have all these smart things?
Yeah, I think the presumption is, which I fully respect, that there's a concern of having those banks of meters. I think our position is that it's all within the FCC guidelines, but having said that, we understand our customers do have concerns. We're listening to those concerns and seeing what viable options we may have.
Okay, and again, just my concern with the constant saying it's within the FCC guidelines is that letter from Norbert Hankin of the Radiation Protection Division of the EPA that states that FCC's current exposure guidelines at 30% do not apply to chronic non-thermal exposure situations. So I think there is a question about using those FCC guidelines when you have someone from the EPA that says they don't apply. I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, this is Seth Forrest, Outraged Fairfax. Security issue, okay? I quite don't feel secure when I'm looking at a group of people here that are driven, and they're professionals and specialists here. Their jobs probably part of their security factor here, so, and they're getting paid by PG&E or involved in PG&E. But my point is around the amount of time in which it'll be paid. I'd like to find out if there's a service that's going to be provided that this will act sort of like an internet system, and you'll be able to use it as a communication now through PG&E. You'll communicate with other I don't know, services that PG&E may bring online sometime. And will this turn into like a wireless device that will be, I guess, in competition with your competitors around wireless access for the public?
So generally speaking, the device is not, for example, a broadband access point for like competition with Comcast and stuff like that. It is a two-way communication, primarily to enable further possibilities around energy efficiency, demand response programs, and things that would help lower the cost of energy to our customers as well as reduce greenhouse gas. So that's our general piece to it.
Will it have the capability to do so, though?
I don't think it has to.
No, it's a narrowband system. It doesn't have broadband capability.
Okay. Let's see. And then I saw something when you guys printed that inside your house you'll be able to connect to it with your computer and access what it is that you're using. And when that's happening, is it then transmitting?
It's a pull kind of system. So if you have a device in your home that calls out to the meter, it can pick up the usage data off the meter, but it's a pull. So we're not broadcasting from the meter into your premise on that?
So when it's keeping track of real-time usage, how does that work?
Well, the meter itself is a device that we've been using for 50 years. The metrology, the meter part, a lot of this discussion is around the communication vehicles.
Right.
But the meter itself is a GE meter that we've used since the 80s. It's nothing new. So it's tracking energy usage all the time.
I'm a little confused about the communication between the user inside on their computer accessing the instrument outside and getting the information off of it.
Okay. So there are two ways that a customer could potentially get information from the meter. Number one is you can go on PG&E.com, enter your secret password, get on your account, and it has yesterday's data on there today.
And all your historical usage.
Okay, but not live real time?
No.
Okay.
The second way is there will be available at some point if you decide to purchase a device in your home that can ping the meter directly and get near real-time data or 10-second data.
So there'll be pinging that will go on during that period of time when people use that device. So it will then communicate through the, pinging to the meter to talk to it to find out real time what's going on real time in that system you just described.
Yeah, if you buy a device for your home
Right.
that can call out to the meter, you can get near real-time data off it.
And you choose to do that, yes.
So
if you like.
But it will emit, or it will be emitting a ping between the two, won't they?
Only if your device
Right.
initiates a contact to the meter.
Okay.
It doesn't go the other way.
Okay, but doesn't it ping back and let it know what's going on?
Well, there's a handshake between your device and the meter should you purchase a device for your home that will talk to the meter.
And how long will they communicate?
Microseconds.
Microseconds.
If you have one of these communicating devices.
So in the future, can you sort of like get appliances coming out and sort of set the energy uses in through that device in which you'll have in your house, so you then communicate with the device itself and set the parameter around it by and I don't know how that would work, but with with the meter that would be pinging back and forth the information, would it now be somehow programmed to understand when it wanted to shut off anything in the house if it wanted to, if once you were able to tell it from the computer, can you reset your appliances to work at certain efficiencies from that computer communicating ping with one another?
So let me just say that at this point, these are all exciting potential visions of the future. There's nothing like this yet available. People are imagining that there might be a system like that for the home that would allow you to set some controls for your house that would say, if electricity is really expensive, then let's run the dishwasher at a different time. And there's a vision of that. So for people who are interested in having that in their home, that they could buy something like that. That's not yet available.
Okay, so here's my point is the potential for those pings and communication of pings to take place will increase with the technology that's going to be presented possibly on more usage of how you can use this communication device where the ping's off your meter and now be able to do more things with it. So now you've got more pinging time going on. So the time which you're talking about now and then the projection into the future, has there been any consideration for that and the health that are we concerned in that?
Let me kind of put it in this perspective. You choose if you want to have, I'm assuming, a network, a whole wireless network. My guess maybe not. I don't know.
No, I don't like any of that.
Right. So a person who's going to have a home area network and smart appliances and paying back for it is somebody who chooses to have that. If a person doesn't want to have that, they're not going to have that. Any more than they're going to have a network router and wireless printers and laptops in their house, right?
So it's encouraging more use of these waves, wireless, at some time, regardless of whether or not I buy it or not. So I could be someone standing next to them or next door and still be exposed to it on some level. It becomes a background that wasn't there before as far as, having frequencies flying around all over the place, and this is encouraging it.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks.
I'm Joseph Odom. I live in Fairfax at 9840s. And I hope I can do this in 3 minutes. I'll try to. But I believe that our legal case boils down to this. Simply this. Does an outside entity have the right to impose microwave radiation on individuals living inside their homes? The law has always set a very high standard, a higher standard for privacy rights inside our home than it has for in the commons. The wireless smart meter program proposed by Pacific Gas and Electric meets the legal definition of trespass in the state of California. California Penal Code 602 and its related sections recognize over 30 acts constituting criminal trespass. The most common acts of California trespass laws are entering someone else's property with the intent to do damage. The trespass has been held by the courts not to always necessarily mean an individual coming into your house. If you were to, for example, put a bullet into someone's house, that would be trespass. If you were to put a poisonous snake through their mail slot, that would be trespass. Because there are many variants of this offense, there are several legal definitions of trespass. Certain facts are common to all California trespass cases. These include willfully entering someone else's property with the intent to interfere with that person's property rights. Now, specific intent has been held by the courts to include the fact that if the person doing the trespass is aware that the act that they are committing may cause physical harm, then there is specific intent. And I believe that the law, therefore, is met. Now, Pacific Gas and Electric has repeatedly used the Telecommunication Act of 1996, which states that regulating and all that stuff of radio frequencies, as long as it complies with the federal standards. The federal standards, however, are regarding only ionizing radiation. Nothing in the federal regs address non-ionizing radiation. Therefore, it is incumbent upon the town of Fairfax to reconvene a committee to update the town telecommunication ordinance to reconcile the trespass laws of California with the telecommunication acts and to adopt non-ionizing standards for the town of California because the feds have failed to do it, and those standards should be approximately what is used in Europe.
Thank you. David?
My name is David Glick. I live at 297 Cascade Drive. It seems we have an interesting situation here. We have a group of people who do not want smart meters imposed on their property for health concerns, privacy concerns, security concerns, accuracy concerns. And we have a very powerful corporation sitting over there. What makes it interesting is that there was a recent Supreme Court decision called Citizens United. Citizens United said that corporations may be regarded as a person within the purview of the law, with all the rights of a person. So my question is to you, are you here as a mighty corporation, determined to impose your will on a bunch of people who don't want it? Or are you willing to be here as a person with not only the rights of a person, but with the responsibilities and the sensitivities of a person to listen to this side? Because it seems to me that if you would be willing to be here as a person rather than a corporation, you have the opportunity to build cordial relations with this community and other communities. If you're here as a mighty corporation, you have the opportunity to once again reinforce your image as a mighty corporation that quite frankly doesn't give a damn about the people that they're supposed to serve. So my question is, which way are you here? Are you here as a corporation or as a person?
I think we're just here as people wanting to hear your concerns and take them into account as we look at options as we're committed to look at.
My hope would be that you would be here as a person with the sensitivities as a person to really take seriously what the people here are saying. Because again, I think if you were to do that, you could still function as a corporation. But with respect to this community and people with these concerns, you would really be building cordial relationships, which I think would actually help your corporation, but would really be respecting the people with their particular concerns here.
I'm Alba Belize. I'm a homeowner here in Fairfax. I work in the healthcare field, and I was very concerned about some of the healthcare liabilities that may happen as a result of these meters being installed. So I did a little research, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the symptoms, some of the things that I might begin to experience over time. So one of the most dangerous, or the most dangerous aspect is the way in which these wireless meters put our health at risk. This kind of microwave pulsing, which is what it is, works differently than more continuous cell phone radiation, and it's much more dangerous. Many scientific studies have verified that this type is particularly affects the brain, nervous system, and hormones, disrupting the functioning of many body systems and causing very serious leakage of our blood-brain barrier. And that low-power broadcasts, such as from these meters, are even more damaging than higher-power ones. Typical acute symptoms include migraine headaches, insomnia, exhaustion, forgetfulness, confusion, tingling, vomiting, constant thirst, heart palpitations, increased blood pressure, limbic system disturbances such as severe depression, anxiety, crying, and a general reduction from prior levels of functionality. For some, the nervous and endocrine systems go into hyperarousal, as with severe stress, ultimately leading to the collapse known as burnout. Careful scientific research has proven that cumulative exposure to this type of radiation also causes more and more DNA breaks, which, if experienced frequently enough, have the potential to be a factor in ultimately causing cancer. Our risk of developing serious symptoms, often referred to as electrical sensitivity, increases the longer our chronic exposure to this radiation continues. So it's a cumulative chronic effect. And with the smart meter system fully in place, there will be no place to escape, night or day. Children, pregnant women, and elderly, as those with pre-existing health problems, are particularly vulnerable. So here's the bottom line in the way that I see things. That's it.
I have you with 20 seconds.
All right. I just present the fact that I have absolutely no choice in this. I have a choice in not owning a cell phone or wireless system, but I have absolutely no choice in making a decision as far as my health is concerned. And there's something else that's really the bottom line of this whole thing. Though safer technologies are readily available to create a smart grid, there's one sweet financial deal for PG&E. We customers pay, we, the people, pay all the costs already, $2.2 billion, roughly $250 per meter, bringing PG&E an immediate profit of $300+ million. I can go on with this, but I think you all know exactly why this is being done.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Ginger Saunders-Mason from Kensington. I worry about those poor meter readers, on the day of unemployment. What about them? I think it's a sad day when a corporation can just dump a whole group of employees and not even look back. I have some concerns about downtown. I understand there are 4 meters, 4 antennas already turned on. and they're just broadcasting even though there's nothing there to broadcast. And I'd like to know, where are those and how is that affecting the people in those areas? Secondly, within my own home, I have taken and used capacitors to clean up the dirty power so that our family will not be exposed to the RF radiation that is on the line within our home. There is a third kind of diabetes, and that is the kind that's perpetrated and caused by radio frequencies that people are exposed to. And I don't want my family exposed to those things which would be put on to our family without our consent when it comes to having a smart meter attached to our line. So I need to know where those 4 antennas are and what exposure people have around those. And then I don't want to be exposed to that kind of potential of getting a diabetes, which my husband is on the verge of. And that's part of the reason we cleaned up our power. Do you have any answers? And why are those on now when there's no reason, nothing to broadcast?
I actually don't know where the access points are located here in Fairfax, so I don't think we can comment on the specifics of your question, but I'm sure we can find out for you.
Okay, but what happens around them? What happens to the people around them? What kind of generating of
We can also, in addition to providing 4 locations, to see to what extent they're broadcasting or not, we've taken a voluntary step to reschedule the deployment in Fairfax. I think you're all aware of that. So I think I don't have an answer if it's actually transmitting out to, like you said, nothing out there or not, or if they're just doing testing on it and so forth. So.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Richard Rasnikoff. What do I have to get something in?
There you go.
It's been a long time. There's new technology since the last time I spoke. I live in Fairfax, and I really wasn't going to say anything, but I think what I have to say, I haven't really heard from anybody else in these terms, which is not a surprise. And so I guess what I want to say is I'm not a scientist. I mean, I've seen some of the materials and the documentation of people claiming studies and so forth, and I read them. But I'm not a scientist, and I apparently don't have a quick enough brain to be able to assimilate all this information and come to a very clear understanding. But I do feel that there's sufficient credible information available that seems to substantiate the concerns that a lot of people have, health concerns they have over this, the imposition of the smart meters. And because of that, I have to say that I have a very strong bias against them. And part of that is because, well, historically, I mean, I'm sure you're all very fine people and everything, but the corporation you're working for has a history of poisoning people and not cleaning up its mess. We've got, I can't remember the name of the town, but there's a town in Southern California, right, thank you, where 14 years ago a court ordered you guys to clean it up, and now it's 4 square miles, this plume, and it's entered the lower aquifer. And then again, another thing I recall is PG&E declaring bankruptcy not that many years ago, shortly after sending $1 million to a parent corporation and voting its executives a lot of money. So this is the kind of reality that we're familiar with in terms of PG&E. And so we don't believe you. You know, I mean, you can have answers to studies and try a bunch of stuff out, and it may be true or it may not be. But based on what we know about PG&E as a corporation, this is not a good corporation. This is a corporation that, at least historically, has poisoned people and said that everything was fine. So I don't think we want to be poisoned while being told that everything is fine. And absent some sort of turnaround by the parent or by PG&E, there's no reason to believe what you guys say.